Welcome back to the Project GenX Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Alan Smith, along with...
I'm the other guy, Big Dave.
And it is just us this time. Barry is not here because of life.
And spontaneity, thanks to work running me out of hours.
There's been... Yeah, it's just kind of been... It's been a slog since the first of the year. And
this year has definitely been a grind.
It has. And I know we've been doing up until November of this last year, we were doing every week.
Yeah.
Every two a week when we were doing Oktoberfest. And it's kind of one of those things that, again, a lot of life happened really fast, and we all needed a break, but I especially needed a break.
Life kind of put a boot on all of our necks.
And so we took that time off, then we came back. As I told the guys, I was like, man, I'm ready to come back, but I'm not ready to come back weekly. And then after, I think it was in February, I had talked to you guys about going back weekly again. Yeah. I was like, hey, maybe we start doing this again. But life has just not allowed us to do it. No. So.
And we appreciate you for hanging in with us while we're trying to get things back to where they were.
I hope, hopefully, as the summer rolls in, we will get back to weekly stuff again.
Yeah. Yes, we will eventually get to your Chuck episode.
We are. I rewatched all of Chuck. I know Dave's watched. I don't know about Barry yet, but I think he may have, or maybe he just remembers it from before or something.
That, and I've got some pre-production stuff.
Yeah, I know.
For that
and
episode.
It has been. This is just one of our. We're just going to talk for a while episodes.
Congratulations, we ran out of ideas, so we're just going to ramble for an hour.
We have done these things periodically since the beginning, hey, let's just kind of catch up on what's going on in life, because they're since the last time we sat down and did this, and then we're also got another episode that it's gonna there's a topic that we're gonna that we haven't recorded before this at all, and that's gonna come out after this one, but we. God, I just lost my fucking chain of thought. I can't even say it right.
I haven't even
say it right.
3 weeks?
It's been a while. It's been since we recorded the televisions, VCRs, and since we did that episode. And then of course we did the Fight Club remix, and then
I work for a college, and we're in the middle of graduation season, and it has been stupid busy for me.
Yeah, and it's not like and we totally haven't covered this already on another episode that we haven't recorded yet. So.
About we cover me working at a college and it being graduation season, me not being able to record like once a year.
But like I said, we do these periodically of kind of, hey, what's been going on in life? Because we're all Gen X. We're not ready to announce anything yet, but we've got some changes coming as it is with this with the network. Let's put it that way. I have been in touch with somebody that has been on the show before that we've been trying to get back in here.
What have you done?
I haven't done anything yet, but
I'm suddenly very afraid.
I will say this:
have I been replaced? What's going on?
We all love her, and I finally got in touch with her. So, yes. So,
how is she's
doing well. That's all honestly, that's all I know at this point. We just kind of had a very brief conversation, and I told her that we had some projects to work on, and she said that she was extremely excited to get involved. So we're going to start working on that here before long. And I know I'm being very vague, but if you go back through our archives, you'll figure out who I'm talking about. So it's
when you talk to our favorite psycho bunny again,
yes,
tell her I said hello.
It's our favorite spooky girl. So it's but yeah, we're working on some stuff, and
you're working on some stuff. I'm working on some
stuff, and
I, on the other hand, have been creatively.
Dave's been working.
I've been working, and honestly, last 4 or 5 months, I have been creatively dry at the well.
Well,
I'm out of ideas on everything. I'm talking about my video work. I'm talking about this. I'm talking about music. I'm dead right now.
if you've listened for a little while, you know, everyone knows that I've moved earlier this year. And this, and if you listen for an even longer amount of time, you know that the house that I moved from is the only place I ever lived, you know?
Yeah.
So literally I have moved one time in my life. That's it. Dave's trying to like even remember all the places times he's moved.
I'm in my 9th location.
Yeah, there you go. And it's a situation where even though I did not move that far, and I moved into a place that did not need a lot of work, like I had to do some stuff. Like we had to come in here and paint, and there's nice hardwoods. We pulled the carpet up, but there was still like some other where we got to put some more carpet down, and so it's kind of been one of these.
You know the part that I really enjoy, not getting shot at while we're recording podcasts.
Yes, and there's that also.
Yeah.
Although I have heard shots recently
in this neighborhood.
Yeah, but like down.
Oh, that's towards Dickerson Road.
Like over. Yeah. No. We'll talk about it, but it wasn't this neighborhood. It was down a ways.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's kind of the remnants of all that other junk that I left.
Okay.
So yeah, it's kind of one of those situations, but, yeah, much quieter neighborhood. I mean, it's like, Dave, I have to describe this to everybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about here, but the house that I'm in was built in probably the late 50s, early 60s or something. It's kind of that, I don't know, that ranch style. Yeah.
One level.
And the living room, which I finally got carpet in the last week and a half of us recording.
Which you lied to me. You said that was going to be the new music room.
Well, the other room is bigger, for one thing. The den.
Oh, the den.
The den is bigger. As opposed to the
it looked like you were setting that up for your football watching area, though.
Oh, no. It may still be, but it was kind of like before. You know, the den had all the music equipment set up, and you know, and then so yeah, I've got this nice big picture window that like looks out, you know,
across the front yard,
across the four-way stop down here, you know, and then like kind of blah. And you know what? It's funny because my dad was here. I think it was. I can't remember if it was yesterday or today. And he kind of walked through there, and he asked me, he's like, do you ever close the blinds to those things? I'm like, no, I leave them open all the time. And there are times where, like, I will walk through the house at, like, 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, you know. And, of course, I don't have, like, all the lights lit up or anything, you know. Like, the kitchen light will be on or something. And I'll just stand out in that room and look out at this like quiet neighborhood, and there's not people walking up and down the street all hours of the day and night, and there's no gunshots, and there's no helicopters flying over. And when I do hear helicopters, I know they're going to my old neighborhood rather than staying in mine, or you know, all that kind of stuff. And it's just really nice. It's a nice quiet neighborhood. And you know, my dog Biscuit's here with me, and he loves it because the neighbors have a Great Dane that's 3 years old, and it's his new best friend. And it's just they will go out and run all over the place and act like idiots and have a great time.
That's what I love about my place. While we're still in the neighborhood, we're actually way far out in the country. And it's the same thing.
You are out.
I'm literally 30 minutes from everything.
I know. But you don't feel like it when you're there.
you can sit on the back porch and, look over the backyard, and I've got a tree line, and it's really nice, and it's quiet, and it's not crazy. The problem is I have a helicopter problem.
Oh, yeah.
The reason I have a helicopter problem is because Fort Campbell at Clarksville
from you, I know,
decides to use Cheatham County as their flyover zone because it's...
So you get military helicopters coming through.
Quote, mostly rural.
Yeah.
The problem is...
That's true.
Well, there was one night I was actually in bed. No, I wasn't in bed yet. I was trying to get ready for bed. And suddenly I heard boom, 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 boom. And it kept getting louder, and it got to be multiples. And I walked out into my driveway, and we have one of those huge security lights. So it lights up the whole, driveway area. And there is a V of like 4 or 5 military helicopters low enough that I can see in the windows and see the pilots illuminated by the red dials in the helicopters. And I'm sitting in my driveway like, seriously?
So do I need to go back in and get my gun? Like,
no, you don't. No.
I'm just saying.
No.
Hey, I think it was 3 weeks ago, I walked out. It's funny because like my front yard, there's quite a few trees. It's a big yard. Like we got,
You got
about an acre and a quarter.
Okay.
So it's over an acre here. We're in a corner lot. And the front yard there's trees.
Yeah.
The backyard,
not so much.
Yeah. It's kind of open. And so it's really weird to like go out the front door and like feel like you're in one place and then go out the back door and feel like you're in a completely different neighborhood, I mean, it's still quiet and everything, but it's just all open.
Yeah.
And a military helicopter, it wasn't the ones that you saw.
Yeah.
It's more of the, it's more the pass, like the carrier, I'm talking about.
You're talking about like a Huey?
Yeah, something. Yeah. I am losing the words for this. I can I know they're in my brain.
It wasn't the big double-bladed one, was it?
No, it was not one of those. Okay. Although I have seen one of those recently.
Well, you've got Air National Guard at the
airport. I know. But anyways, one of those came flying.
Yeah.
Across my backyard from over across the interstate, because the interstate's really close to here, and it came across. I heard it before I ever saw it.
You always will.
And I was standing in the backyard. It was
until you don't.
Sunny, and it was kind of and it was low, like pretty low.
Yeah.
And it comes flying over, and I'm standing out there watching it, and the only thing running through my head is Red Dawn. At the first at the first where they're like at the sporting good place that one of them's dad,
Yeah.
And they said a helicopter coming and like, is it one of ours? Is it what, and then it was, I felt like that where it's, what is this?
Yeah.
This is something just doesn't seem right about this, whatever it is, and it flew off, whatever. But I was just like, I don't like this.
Yeah, anytime you start seeing black helicopters in the sky, that's not a good time.
Yeah. And I'm not arrogant enough to think that I'm important enough for anybody to come after, but I'm still kind of like, I've read 1984. It's like, I've read 1984. I've read Fahrenheit 451. I've read Harrison Bergeron. I've read what's the
Everybody
other one?
Forgets about Harrison Bergeron.
I've read what was the other one? I've read Brave New World.
I haven't read that.
I've read all of these.
Read that one.
And I read. And you know what's funny? I read every single one of them when I was in high school.
Yeah. I'm going to add,
except for Brave New World. Brave New World I read when I was in college. I read it on my own. I did not read it for anything that I had to do. It was kind of one of those I picked it up because people kept talking about it.
I'm going to add 3 more to it, and it's a 3-book series. 1 second after, 1 year after, the final days.
Okay.
It's basically about what happens in a small, I can't remember if it's Virginia or North Carolina town, when some of our enemies have decided to set off EMPs over the U.S. And everything goes out.
Wow.
So the first book is 1 second after. The second book is 1 year after. The third book is the final days. It will give you a list of things you should be looking at as a prepper.
I'll give you one.
Okay.
The Fourth Turning.
The Fourth Turning.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, do tell.
Okay, let me tell you right here. Here's Alan's book club here. And those of you who think I'm a nut job are really going to think I'm a nut job when I start talking about this one. This book was written, let me pull it up here. Of course, I have the Audible book for it. So
because you don't actually read, you cretin.
Well, I've told you, I don't read because...
I know.
ADD of I cannot concentrate. I can get through maybe 5 or 10 pages of a book.
Sure.
And then next thing I know, I'm another 5 or 10 pages long, and I have no idea what I just read. Okay. And I have to go back and read it again. It's like I've had that problem for as long as I can remember.
I absolutely cannot do Audible books or books on tape or whatever.
I thrive on them.
Because when I'm reading a book, my mind is building the characters and the voices and the way they act and all that. And if somebody's reading a book to me, it completely destroys that for me.
Right. The Fourth Turning.
Who's it by?
Was written by William Strauss and Neil Howell.
Okay.
This is nonfiction.
Okay.
Basically, the concept of the book is that there are eras in history.
Yeah.
Last about 80 years. That they are subdivided by what they call 4 seasons, and it's spring, summer, winter, or spring, summer, fall, and winter.
Yeah.
You can go back through history. And this one focuses more on the United States, but they actually extrapolated out a little more, like back through, European history, like world history, and that kind of stuff. But okay, so the Revolutionary War, okay, was fought 1775 to 1783. Okay,
yeah.
America was established. We went through. What happened 80 years later? (1861) 80 years later.
That was another
Civil War.
Yeah, Civil War, yeah.
Okay. What happened 80 years after that? 1941.
Well, that's World War
the U.S. entered World War
II. No.
Yeah. U.S. entered World War II.
Okay, yeah.
War started in 1939.
You're right.
U.S. entered in December 41. What's 80 years after World War I?
You said 41? I'm terrible at math.
2021.
2021, okay.
Somewhere in there. Basically what this is positing is that every 80 years, something happens.
Yeah.
That basically upsets the status quo of everything.
And resets.
And we're moving into what's called the fourth turning, which is the winter portion of that 80-year or that cycle. And the thing about it, this book was written in the late 90s. Like I think it was in 97, 98, somewhere around in there, or 96, 97, somewhere in mid-90s. Somewhere.
Okay.
It was written then.
Yeah.
They said that by this cycle, something catastrophic would happen in the early 2000s that would change the world completely and lead us back into a war that would not end.
Well, that sounds like
9/11, which got us into that quagmire that we've been in ever since. Okay.
Yeah.
They also said that some billionaire would start pushing some kind of medical.
Oh, Bill Gates.
And they didn't say who. They just said there would be some kind of billionaire who start pushing some kind of medical advancement that's going to split the population.
Yeah.
They also said that there may be some kind of pandemic that comes along during that next
COVID.
little, Yeah. It's one of those where it's like it's scary to listen to this thing. Like, whoa.
Did they talk about the financial system?
That was all through of like the financials are going to have problems. There's going to be this
federal digital currency,
and all this garbage. And it's like they're basically saying that the fourth turning ends somewhere around 2026, 2027, somewhere around in there before we start the cycle over again. Yeah, and it's like...
Well, here's what's interesting.
And me being a history nerd, I'm like, no, yeah, you can look back through history. Because it's one of those things, even if you go back further before, like, before 80 years prior to the American Revolution, you've got, like, the French Revolution. Okay, 80 years prior to that, I can't remember all of them, but it's like you go down. It's like roughly. It's not exactly 80. It's somewhere in that 80, that 80 range,
averaging. 80.
Yeah, somewhere in there
where
more,
it's like
where it's like wow, this and this happened before that, and this happened before that.
Well, if you go
follow
back,
the Roman Empire, it actually runs into all of them.
Okay, so speaking of that, going back in history, most of the great civilizations tend to last about 250 years.
Right.
And then there's
We're
a fall.
approaching the 250 year.
America is sitting at year 246 right now. So this could get very interesting.
It could, but it is what it is. I mean, it's like, but it's one of those things that, of course,
Okay, everybody get it.
Some people start looking at that and they're like, "Oh, you're just a conspiracy theorist." Yes. I'm like, no, I like to study history, and history is pretty much undefeated. It may not be like one for one all the time.
Yeah.
But that old saying about those that don't study history are doomed to repeat it is not just for history students, but I mean like legitimately, and there's also the whole like people say well, history doesn't repeat, it rhymes. And I'm like, no, I can believe that too. It's one of those things you can go back and you can look and say, okay, this is what was going on before this thing happened.
Yeah.
And then you go back and say, okay, do we have another analogy for that? Well, yeah, you go back another 100 years or whatever, and there's this thing happened, and this was what led up to it. Well, that looks an awful lot like what well, if we didn't, it's kind of like so many other things, where it's like everybody talks about him. We're getting so much in the weeds here. You talk about the Great Depression.
I don't think there's any weeds here. We're just talking.
You talk about the Great Depression.
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody talks. Black Friday that happened on in October of 1929. Wall Street. Blah 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 blah. People forget that in 1921 there was a financial crash that happened that was even bigger than what happened in 29.
Yeah.
That was global. It wasn't just the U.S. I mean, I know that with 29, it had some global ramifications too, but not to the,
Yeah.
The difference between the two is that the Fed didn't have the power that they did by the time 29 rolled around, and so it was kind of left alone and it worked itself out.
Yeah.
Whereas in 29, the Fed and Roosevelt got together and said, okay, we can fix this. Well, that's not how that works, okay?
No.
And
you're not getting ready to start talking about a $1 trillion platinum coin.
And all that kind of BS, So it's kind of one of those things where I'm like, oh, God, But at the same time, I'm also very much the type of person that says, look, money isn't real, okay? The only reason that the numbers that you see in your bank account exist is because you believe that they exist and the bank says that they exist, and everybody else just goes along with the whole no, that exists.
Well, all you have to do,
even the little pieces of paper that some people still have that say 1 or 10 or 100 or whatever, the only reason they're worth anything is because everybody believes they're worth something.
And the reason for that is when what was it? It was Nixon that took us off of the gold standard.
But even gold, the only reason gold is worth something is because everybody believes it's worth something. Okay, but honestly, and that's the argument I always get into with a lot of the people who are really, you should have gold and silver. I'm like, why? Let me ask you this question.
Well,
let's say everything goes to hell. Okay, let's say everything goes to hell.
Yeah,
okay?
I already know this argument. You know what our economy is going to be built on if everything.
Bartering is what it will come down to.
Commodities. It's going to come down to commodities and services
and bartering, because it's like that's what's like. If I'm sitting on the street and I have a gallon of water, okay, and somebody comes up and says, "Hey, I've got some gold. I want to buy your gallon of water."
Nope.
Well, what am I going to do with that gold?
What else?
Somebody comes up and says, "Hey, I got half a sandwich. I'd like a glass of your water." I'll take half a sandwich because, for one thing, gold's heavy. What am I going to do with it? And it's not going to feed me. It's not going to give me water. It's not going to shelter me and that kind of stuff.
It's going to come down to food. It's going to come down to water. It's going to come down to soap,
ammunition,
medical supplies.
Yep, all that kind of
animals.
And being able to do a service for hey, I can build. I do carpentry work. Hey, I can do work.
My car's broke down.
Yeah.
Do you know a mechanic?
Yeah,
because if you know a mechanic, I'll help you do this to get your mechanic friend.
Or if you are a mechanic, it's any number of things like that. Yeah.
Which is why I'm screwed. I'm just going to have to.
IT probably not going to work so well once everything shuts off. So.
No, which is why I'm actually looking at doing some of the basic electronics and
figure out
stuff.
How to refine gasoline, like legit. Now here's the advantage: if you have a diesel engine, you have a much bigger advantage than someone who has just a regular gas engine.
Yeah, because that stuff will run.
It will run on just about anything. Yeah, I mean, honestly, you can literally make your own diesel.
Diesel is not a thing.
No,
diesel is the name of the man who invented it.
Yeah, engine. I know exactly.
Yeah.
Or either that or figure out how to manufacture ammunition.
That's not as hard as you think.
Well, I know, but it's one of those things that is a.
Because I will probably just be growing a garden and hunting for my food
chickens.
At that point. Not
chickens are wonderful.
Rabbits.
Yeah, but you can.
Chickens are too loud.
Could be. But you know what the problem is with rabbits? If you eat only rabbits, you can starve to death.
Well, that's true.
Because there's no fat on them whatsoever. And literally, that has happened where people have have died of malnutrition from just eating rabbits.
Yeah. Which is why you've got to add in some other stuff.
But the whole thing, I know chickens are loud, but the thing you got to think about chickens, they're constantly, I mean, they lay eggs.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's one of those things, you can eat them. You can, as long as you have a rooster and you have laying hens, actually, it's one of those things where they repopulate very quickly.
Actually, so one animal that most people don't think about is actually raising quail. Quail has about the same type of meat, and they do eggs.
Yeah. So,
and you can put more of them in a smaller space.
There you go. So this is prepping 101. Not really, but you know, but it is what it is. I mean, we kind of got off in the weeds on that right there. But whatever, I don't care about your political whatever. It's always good to know it's always good to know basic first aid. To
basic first aid, bleeding control, CPR,
all kinds of stuff.
How to grow a garden,
how to catch water. There's a whole lot more to that than what people think. How to start a fire without, I mean, there are simple methods. This is all stuff that I learned growing up. I was not in Boy Scouts, but I was in a church equivalent of it. Yeah. And it's funny because like everyone else in America, don't really have to use that stuff. But it's been funny a few times in recent years where with having a new fire pit or whatever, and I'm like, okay, how do you? Oh yeah, I remember how to build a fire. I remember how to get one started without or how to get one started with one match, or even or even having some other stuff. Having some basic little things. Like a flint, a fire flint. Stuff like that. It's like
here's one that's simple. Everybody has an electric dryer.
Yes.
Everybody has to clean that stupid lint out of the dryer.
Wonderful for fuel.
Take that lint and start putting it in a Ziploc bag and saving you up a little bit of lint. So if you need to start a fire, you got
stuff will ignite.
It'll ignite. Now it won't last very long because you're going to have to keep feeding it until your fire kit's going.
Right.
But it'll ignite like that.
Yep. Yeah. Especially if you're using like a flint or something like that. That stuff will catch in no time.
Yep.
There's all kinds of stuff like that it's just basic stuff. It's stuff that people used to know. Yeah. But we've gotten so close. We've gotten so comfortable living in cities where stuff is delivered to us and this and that and blah 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 blah. I'll be honest. One of the things that I don't know how to do that I really should know is I had never field dressed anything.
It's been a very long time since I've done that. I need to relearn that skill.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that, like, again, if you have to hunt for food, you need to know how to field dress an animal because if not, you're going to run into a whole lot of problems.
Even if you're not hunting wild animal,
right?
If it gets to that point to where you're raising cattle and pigs and that type of thing, you're going to need to know how to process those animals to get the meat you need to eat.
Yep.
So, and there's all kinds of YouTube video tutorials out there to learn how to do that stuff right now.
There you go. And everything we're talking about is completely gluten-free. So.
Wild animals, that's some of the original organic meat. Venison is delicious.
Venison is so good. Oh, my God, it's so good. I haven't had it in years, but, man, I remember I had an uncle that used to make venison chili. Oh, man, it was the best stuff.
See, one of my bucket list things is to go out west and do an elk hunt and be able to harvest an elk and bring it back. And have to buy 3 freezers to put it all in.
Because there's so much meat in there.
Yeah.
So,
And from what I understand, elk meat is just delicious.
Yeah, it's a little gamey, but it's really good.
I don't mind the game.
Yeah, I've had it once. It's really good. Yeah. And that's, again, the whole gamey thing, people make a big deal. It's not that big a deal.
The problem is that's the way meat is supposed to taste.
I know. And what you're tasting in process is that they've taken so much out of it. So
yeah. Oh, and that's one thing. I think I found a place in Springfield. It's literally field to table.
Oh,
like
nice.
They grow it there, they finish it there. They have a butchering house, then they have a storefront where they sell that.
Hopefully, we haven't lost too many people in our little diatribe off of this stuff because there is other stuff for us to talk about here. Since 2 things. One of them, and right before we were getting ready to record this, Dave pulled up where I had posted on Discord.
Oh, about MTV.
MTV News
is gone
after 36 years. And that is...
Well, you don't have Kurt Loder over there
he
to be condescending to everybody in a long time.
He hasn't been there in a long time. But, you go back 30 years.
Yeah.
Okay. MTV News, I remember, when they would do like the Weekend Rock. You know, and when quote unquote MTV News first started, it mainly was just music related stuff.
Yeah.
You know, that was I remember in 89, I guess it was, like I just happened to be watching MTV then. And the thing is, they would do MTV News at 10 to the hour. It was always at like the 50-minute mark of an hour.
Because they were getting ready to have to do the station.
Yeah, and so it was like, you know, it was like usually 2 or 3 minutes or something. It was really close. It was like, hey, I'm Kurt Loder in MTV News. You know, like, well,
hi, I'm Tabitha Sorum.
Tabitha Sorum came on later, you know. But it was, you know, they would do the Weekend Rock, and it was usually just all music stuff. That's all it was usually. I remember just happened to be watching on a random Saturday night when I was in high school when the news came down about Sebastian Bach getting hit in the head with that bottle and then throwing it back in the crowd and jumping in, you know, type thing of like, and seeing the video and being like, wow, you know. Random stuff, you know, MTV News, you got to remember, especially 30 years ago in 93, they were at the height of their power. They had just elected a president, okay?
Yeah, I mean, the Rock the Vote thing.
Yeah, with the Rock the Vote, but, you know, having all the candidates come on, and, you know, they basically put Bill Clinton in office, okay?
Yeah, they did.
And, you know, and whatever. And then, you know, a year later, they were the first big media outlet to break the Kurt Cobain suicide.
Yeah.
You know, that was originally broken by a local Seattle radio station, but MTV was the first national big to break that news. You know?
It was like a cop or
it was a plumber. It
was a plumber, and leaked it to the radio station.
Right, and then from there it got to MTV News, and they were the first ones, like I said, on a national basis. You know. As well as so many other things. You know, again, Kurt Loder came through there. You had Tabitha Sorum came on. You had Serena Altschul. You had Gideon Yago. You had...
I forgot about Serena.
You had Gideon Yago. You had Sway. You had a whole bunch of people that came through. You know, Sway is still doing his radio thing in Atlanta, you know, and he's doing great. But
Atlanta? I didn't realize it was out of... I thought it was New York.
I thought it was Atlanta that he's out of.
What is it?
Am I wrong about
that? It's like the 97s or something
Maybe it is New York. Who is it that's out of Atlanta? Oh, no. I'm thinking of somebody else. Okay. Yeah, I think it is New York. But it's one of those things where it's like you had all these people, you know, even... I
was going to say, I thought he was up there with Charlemagne and
what was the guy's name? The not Matt Pinfield, but the other tubby-pawed guy. He was younger than Pinfield. That was on there in the early 2000s. He was a real metal guy, you know. I can't remember his name now. But yeah, you saw all these people who came through there who left and went on to do other stuff.
Yeah.
You know? And yeah, you know... I couldn't tell you the last time that I watched anything on MTV. I mean, it's been a couple of years. I'm sure I was flipping through the channels and some funny video on ridiculousness caught my eye because that's all they ever play anymore. And I stopped for a few minutes and then went on because literally that's all they ever play anymore is ridiculousness.
Yeah.
And I think maybe,
Rob, what's his name?
Yeah, Rob Dyrdek. Maybe Teen Mom might still be on there or something. I don't know. But it's one of those things where, like, once they went to all of that, like to that format, which has been probably, 10 or 12 years ago.
Yeah.
I was already out on them to begin with.
I miss music videos.
And you know what's funny is that, like, you know, you were the other day you said something about the movie awards.
Movie awards. And here's what's hilarious.
Movie awards used to be must-see television. You had to watch it.
Yeah.
The VMAs were the same way. And I'm like, why are they even doing VMAs anymore? They don't even show music videos. So it doesn't make any sense whatsoever, you know?
I mean, the writer's strike. The wife and I...
Writer's strike. We will get onto that in a minute, okay?
The wife and I had heard from some folks that, Drew Barrymore had backed out to, you know, support the writers and all that. And then we got word that, it's not just her. There's a bunch of people that have backed out on this. And the only thing that they had left was the stuff they had already pre-recorded.
Right.
So you got a very sterile, boring. We only watched it for like 10 minutes.
I didn't even know it was on. You texted me and I was like, it's on? Really? Fuck if I know.
Yeah, we watched it just for the I don't know,
I used to, dude,
but it was very sterile. It's just like, and now for this award, and there's like no applause. And then the one where we turned it off at is where Tom Cruise is flying one of his World War II or Korean War era warplanes. Mm-hmm. He's got the MTV award strapped in the seat behind him, and it's another airplane flying along next to him. flying this airplane, and he accepts his award from this airplane because it's Tom Cruise Maverick that he's accepting the award for. And then he turns and flies off. And I was like, well, that's the end of civilization right there. Click. Yeah, what's on next?
That used to be a show that I had to watch every year because it was hilarious.
Yeah.
When they started that, was it 90? It was 93 was the first year that or 92 was the first year that they had it.
Okay.
Sure. And it was because, dude, every year, especially after Jim Carrey became a thing, it was always like, what's Jim Carrey going to do this year?
Yeah.
I mean, always. What is he going to do this year? And Will Smith would have some of the funniest acceptance speeches,
Now he's just walking around slapping.
I know, but it was just one of those things where, and there was always, and they always had these weird, they would do their Lifetime Achievement Awards. It was like Godzilla won it one year, and Chewbacca won it one year. Clint Howard won it one year. Different stuff like that.
I remember the Chewbacca one.
Yeah, and it was just like those weird, like, oh, okay, I think they gave it to Jackie Chan one year before he, really made it. People started knowing who he was. And they would have. Musical guests that would play, and it was usually, I remember the Ramones playing one year, and they did just a medley of all the songs that were nominated in their Ramones way, which was really cool, just different stuff. And of course they would do all the skits and the parodies and, that kind of junk.
The pre-recorded Drew Barrymore stuff, the skit stuff where she's going back and like being the characters out of her old movies, and it was awful. It was awful.
I don't know what the commercial's for, okay? But there's some commercial out there now where Alicia Silverstone is doing Cher from Clueless. She's got the plaid, and even like, they even like go a little meta with it at the end where like one of the other kids in the class is like, aren't you too old to be in high school or something like that, And it's one of those things where I'm like, God, all right, I'm getting ready to go on a rant here because this is something that's really been bothering me.
Careful.
No, this is something that's really been bothering me here lately about nostalgia.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
I get it. Okay? There are things that, maybe as I get older, I'm not quite as nostalgic for them as I was, say, 10 or 15 years ago. Okay? I think some of that is, especially for us, it was... for Gen X, it was kind of one of those, like, we had been sold nostalgia from a very early age.
Boomer nostalgia.
And then our own.
Yeah.
That was kind of one of those, like, they started in really young on selling us on, hey, you remember this? And it was like, dude, we're not even out of our 20s yet, and you're already trying to sell us the nostalgia of something that just happened like 15 years ago, or 10 years, whatever.
5 years ago.
I mean, it's like, legitimately, I always look back, and this is the one, and I've gone on this, it was like the 80s, okay? As soon as the 80s were over, we were being sold 80s nostalgia.
Yeah, but only the day glow, neon,
but I'm
poppy,
talking. I'm talking about like, as well as I do. Like, I was barely out of high school when everybody kept talking about retro. And it was all 80s. It was like, oh, they're having a retro night at this club, and it was always like them playing like new wave or something. It's like, dude, that was just 10 years ago. Why the fuck are we nostalgia for that already, And it hasn't stopped.
And the thing about it is it's all the stuff that should have been getting sold to the Zoomers now.
Yeah, but the thing is it hasn't stopped. The 80s has never stopped for whatever reason. I cannot figure that out for the life of me. But it's still one of those things where, like, it just, and now all of a sudden we're in this early 2000s nostalgia. You got like the when we were young festivals and all that stuff. You know about that, right?
What?
It was this festival. Last year was the first year. They're doing it again this year. That was like all of this like pop punk and emo. It's called When We Were Young.
Okay.
That it's like, it's name a band from that era, and they were there in Vegas. Like, it was a 3-day event, kind of like Coachella, but for like all the pop punk and emo stuff.
So what, they're just rehashing the Vans tour?
Yeah, well, the Vans, the Warped Tour stopped touring a few years ago. They still
Warped Tour.
They still have 2 shows. I think 2 or 3 shows every summer, but it's like one of them's on the West Coast, one of them's in Chicago, and one of them's on the East Coast or something like that, rather than touring like they were, because they weren't pulling in the numbers that they had been, But this thing, and I mean, like, you pull it up. We're talking like Saves the Day and Save Ferris and My Chemical Romance and what's the sure we're going down Fallout Boy.
Oh,
and I mean like all of that stuff. Like anybody, a Yellow Card, and I mean like anything that was kind of big during that era, you know, as far that like fell under that umbrella.
Yellow Card,
they
really?
were there. I mean, it was just like, I mean, yeah. And I got to give this to the millennials. When the original lineup was announced, like about a year ago now, something like that, there was a lot of skepticism about, wow, they're just trying to cash in on nostalgia. Oh, you know, I mean, yeah.
Maybe the millennials actually learned something from us.
They still like went to it though. And they're doing another one this year because it did so well, you know. But yeah, it was just kind of one of those things like, but that's what it goes like. We keep getting these resurrections of television shows and movies that nobody cares about. And I say that, I know there are people who care about it because they wouldn't be doing it if they did. But, you know, I'm just like, dude, do something. You know, this whole writer's strike thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, you know what? I got an idea. Whenever the studios sit down and start negotiating, because they'll come back to the negotiation table, whatever, like, okay, here's the deal. We'll, you know, pay whatever it is you're striking for. Great. We have some, you know, some demands also. One of them needs to be start writing better. Stop rehashing the same shit over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And do something original again, because you're not getting that.
Yeah.
Everything is a franchise. Everything is a continuation. Hell, they're making another Hunger Games movie that's supposed to be a prequel or something.
Yeah.
You know,
which
whatever. But you know,
the thing about
all of the Star Wars crap,
it's the author of that series.
I know,
doing
but all of the Star Wars crap, all of them trying to go back and do, you know, Lord of the Rings.
You leave Dave Filoni and come on, the other guy that was the Marvel guy that's taken over the Star Wars with Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau. Leave them alone.
I have not watched a single episode of the new season of The Mandalorian.
Why?
Because I've heard nothing good about it, and quite honestly, I didn't like the second season that much.
I enjoyed every episode.
It's kind of like you haven't been to the theater recently, have you?
I don't like going to the theater anymore because of the way they've changed them over into those giant lounge chairs.
You have not seen Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania?
No, it actually drops on Disney Plus here pretty quickly. And
right,
I'm actually looking forward to that.
I saw it.
Yeah.
You don't need to see it.
Well, I'm going to watch it because it's free at my house. Well,
it's not free. You're paying for it.
I'm paying $14. But
here's my question: why are you supporting Disney? Disney hates you.
I know Disney hates me, but
on multiple levels. Disney hates their fans in general, and you can tell that by the way that they keep doing stuff. They've all these franchises that we love.
I'll tell you one of the reasons.
Okay?
I'll tell you one of the main reasons.
And then on top of it all, they hate you because because of the way your belief system, values, and everything. I'm not talking politics. I'm just talking about the way you live your life. They hate you because of it.
Yeah, I know.
You know, and so that's why I don't support them any longer. And
the problem is they own all of the classic Disney stuff that we're introducing our niece to.
Here's the thing. You know how you get around that? And you're a big proponent of
physical media.
Go buy used copies of it that you're not giving the studio any money whatsoever, and then you never have to ever again.
Yeah, that's getting harder and harder to do, though.
Not really. I've got a whole bunch of dude. It's not as hard as you think it is, and I'm talking about legal means. You know, like I've had 2 hard drives crash on me in recent months that out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And I've just been like, you know what? I don't have a problem with if I go and I have like physical copies of stuff on my shelf. I don't have to worry about losing this stuff. And, you know, and that's not even talking about like all the pictures and everything else.
I'm
that
the biggest proponent of that.
So I've just kind of been like, no, I'm going back to this. But you know what? In rebuying the MCU stuff,
yeah,
I already decided anything post Endgame that I didn't like, I'm not buying. Which means I'm buying like 2 movies because I have not liked most of the post-Endgame stuff. It's just not been good. And it's got the same problem that the reason why I stopped reading comic books several years back.
Okay.
Because they're not telling stories for the characters. They're using the characters to push you to watch other stuff.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Makes sense.
And I did go see the new Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
I want to see it.
It's one of the movies I've liked since Endgame.
Oh, thank you.
It's
gut-wrenching. I know it's going to be gut-wrenching.
Well, not for the reasons you think, but it's rough to watch sometimes. It's a nice send-off for the Guardians, okay?
Okay.
I mean, it's got some moments. It's not beating you over the head with how you should stuff you should believe or anything. I mean, it's a James Gunn movie. I mean, it's a James Gunn movie, you know.
Which I did not like his version of the Suicide Squad.
Really? I liked it better than the original. Now, again, I watched it because I have HBO Max, and so it's like, okay, it's here. I'll watch it just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I watched it. That's it. I watched it. I'm not going to go. I don't care anything about the DC stuff for the most part.
I don't like the way James Gunn just wholesale got rid of everybody from the...
here's the problem with it. I don't have a problem with him getting rid of everybody except for Harley Quinn, and they pulled somebody else back into. I don't remember who it was.
He needs to keep Harley Quinn,
because he had to, because she's their most bankable character that they have right now.
I think they should have kept Henry Cavill because he is
Superman.
Oh yeah, I think they should have kept Jason Momoa for Aquaman because that's been the most interesting Aquaman has ever been ever.
Yes, but that's like saying that stomach cancer is better than testicular cancer. You know, I mean, that's or something along that line.
And
I mean,
I will admit, after having bad-mouthed Batfleck, the Ben Affleck
role. I just thought the movie sucked.
The more I've gone back and watched him, and actually just kind of watched him in the movies, I actually don't hate him as Batman as much as I thought I was going to.
As far as DC goes, if it's Batman or Joker or Batman related of some sort, I'll watch it. But I always go in with a skeptical, like, I know you really were not down with the new Batman going into it. And I kept telling you, dude, give the kid a chance.
Well, it was
the guy
mainly
a chance.
because of Robert Pattinson.
I know. And I said, give him a chance.
And I said, you were right.
I know. And then you had to make that turn. I was like, I'm telling you. And again,
and I've recently gone back and watched it and found stuff that I didn't see the first time. It's very much Frank Miller Batman year one.
Year one, absolutely.
And he does a good job with it. He really does.
DC has always had a problem with Batman. And hear me out on this.
Okay.
I think you'll agree.
Yeah.
Everybody that they've had come in to play that character, okay? Because if you come in to be Batman, you also have to be Bruce Wayne, okay?
Yeah.
And they're two different people, okay? Everybody, even going back to...
If you get one right...
You don't get the other one right.
You don't get the other one right.
Including him,
yeah.
Okay? He got Batman really right.
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne, not so much.
He's kind of a emo 20-something.
That is, again, you go to the Ben Affleck stuff.
Yeah.
He got Batman good. Not so much Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
You go to Christian Bale. Really great Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
All right, Batman.
Yeah.
You go back through the rest of them. Clooney was bad at both of them. Okay?
Honestly,
let's be honest. Clooney was bad at both of them.
Yes, he was. Keaton, though.
Kilmer was a really good Bruce Wayne, not a good Batman. Keaton, really good Batman, not a very good Bruce Wayne. Okay?
See, I'm going to argue with you on this one a little bit.
That is...
And here's the reason why I'm going to say that. And I've seen somebody else argue this. Because Bruce Wayne is actually his mask.
Okay.
I mean, let's call it. Bruce Wayne is his mask. Batman is who he is.
Yeah, I know. That's plenty of those. Again, many things written and said about that.
Yeah.
Right?
Really great Batman. But what I liked about his Bruce Wayne is because he is so much Batman. He's as Bruce Wayne, he's kind of lost. He's not really there.
Okay. You can justify that any way you want to. I'm just saying in general, he's really good Batman, not a very good Bruce Wayne. Okay? Same thing with, you go back to the 60s with, what's his name? Adam West. I don't think he's really good either one of them. But I mean, it's just, but that's a whole different thing, you know.
That's that 60s groove.
Yeah, I know.
Oh yeah. The best part of that was the Barris Batmobile built out of that Lincoln.
Have you seen? Okay, I know you've seen Joker, and I know you know that they just wrapped Joker 2.
Yeah,
with Lady Gaga playing Harley Quinn. I have a Harley Quinn problem.
Okay.
Because I loved and still do Batman the Animated Series.
Yes, absolutely.
I liked Harley Quinn well enough through all of that. Okay. Then they brought her into the comic books.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, fine. But it's like Harley Quinn has taken over everything in the last 15 years.
And the Joker's taking a back seat.
Yeah, well, it shouldn't be that way for one thing.
No.
But it's also one of those things where it's like, DC has a Harley Quinn problem the same way that Marvel has had a Wolverine or Deadpool problem over the years of like, hey, this is a really popular character. Let's put him in everything. Or Venom was the same way. Let's put him in everything.
Which, by the way, have you seen the new preview for the new Spider-Man?
What, the Into the Spider-Verse?
No, the Spider-Man New Home or something like that.
A new live-action movie?
I'm hoping I didn't get hoaxed.
I haven't seen anything. I mean, I know they were talking about it, but I haven't seen anything about that one yet. I have seen the trailer for the new Into the Spider-Verse, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know, which I like that first movie a lot, and I'm hoping they don't screw this one up. But
I may have gotten hoaxed.
May have. I don't know. I haven't heard. I would think that I would have. It may be something.
No.
New.
Spider-Man New Home 2024 first trailer.
Okay.
On YouTube. I may have gotten scammed.
Yeah, I was going to say, is it an actual or is it where they took?
It's a live action, but it looks like it's got.
I think they announced it.
Looks like they're bringing the black suit.
I think that they have announced it, but I don't think that there's an actual trailer for it yet because there have been multiple. See the teaser trailer for Joker 2, and it's a bunch of production stills and stuff that they've cobbled together from other, and yeah, I know, but
I hate getting scared.
Anyway, all of that goes back into what I was talking about with nostalgia, okay?
Yeah,
and everything else where it's, I want something new, and I mean that across the boards. I want new movie franchises. I want new television shows. I want new music.
Yeah.
Because everything is a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy.
Cannot find any decent new music that
because it sucks.
I like right now.
And I have said this many times recently. I was like, some of it may be I know that some of it's the fact that I'm almost 50 years old, okay? And we know that.
Oh, hold on.
I know you're already 50, but I'm on the.
You're stupid.
Yeah, and I'm on the march. And what was that whole study about? Like, was it 32 or something like that, where they say you stop liking new music or whatever? You kind of like get settled into what you like, or whatever. I get that, okay, but I will be honest. I have tried listening to new music.
Yeah,
and it's all overproduced to the point to where I don't know what anybody sounds like any longer because it all sounds
sounds the same.
And when I say it all sounds the same, I mean they make every singer sound exactly alike.
Well, the fact is if a guitar player, and that's how you usually, drummers and guitar players were how you recognized a song. When you heard a certain guitar sound or you heard a certain drum sound, you knew what artist it was. But with Pro Tools, it doesn't matter.
You can't tell anything.
It doesn't matter what amp or
vocals,
guitar,
anything else. I mean, there was always something that was unique about a song.
Using the same plugins,
and it's just not. It all is just. It's just all mediocre. That's what it is. It's all taking people who are really good and bringing them to the middle, and taking people who are really bad and bringing them to the middle, and then nobody sounds good.
Did you see this Dave Letterman interview with Billie Eilish and her brother / producer?
I had nothing to do with that whatsoever.
They were talking about how they do the songs and all that, and they took him in the studio and they've got a Pro Tools window open.
Oh yeah,
of where it's at, and they're explaining to him how they do it. They did 89 takes of the same song and spliced them all together to make the best version of that song.
And I will use Beyonce as the prototype for this.
Yeah.
Okay? If you ever go and look at any song that she's done, especially in the last decade, okay, maybe a little longer, and you look at the writing credits, okay, there will be 15 people listed as writers. And basically what it is that she will get a bunch of stuff. Like the studios will say, hey, here, we've got this, whoever the producer is, here we got blah, 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 blah. And she'll basically go, I like this from this one. I like this from this one. I like this from this one. I like this from this one, whatever kind of stuff. And the producer will go, okay, fine. And basically take the elements that she likes out of 10 different things and put them into one song. And it's like, that's not songwriting. That is copy and paste is what that is, Yeah. And that irritates me. That is we're a couple of old guys yelling at the clouds here, but it's a
50-year-old yelling at a cloud. There is no blood in the music anymore.
There is no life in it whatsoever. And blood is life. I mean, that's what it comes down to. But yeah, you're right. It is. I was earlier today, I got my stereo set up. Yeah. And it was raining. My stereo is set up in front of my picture window I was talking about in the living room. And I literally was just taking out records and putting them on. I only listened to all of one record, like from beginning to end, but I was just listening.
What?
Yeah, but I started off with the Eagles' Desperado album, okay?
All right.
I listened to it from beginning to end because I love that. I was just like, the mood was right for it, And then I started listening to One of These Nights, and I listened to the first side of it, and then I was like, I want to go listen to something. And I started just kind of like pulling stuff at random, I've picked up some new stuff recently. Like I got a copy of AC/DC's Highway to Hell. So I listened to, first, I think half of the first side, and then flipped it over and listened to If You Want Blood, We Got It. Just a few things like that, I got a copy of Judas Priest, British Steel. So I had to listen to, Breaking the Law and yet another and
I went to McKay's and went through all of their new Arrival stuff, and there wasn't crap
junk
there.
I did get something.
I did pick up 2 records.
Yes.
I found what I hope is a decent copy of Black Sabbath, Sold Our Souls for Rock and Roll.
I've got a copy of that in there. Yep.
And I haven't had a chance to listen to either one, so I don't know how bad they are yet. And then I found a copy of The Police, Synchronicity.
Yeah, that's all you.
Yeah. I know you don't like The Police.
I do not. Anything with Sting attached to it, I'm like, nope. I've picked up quite a bit of vinyl here recently. I got a copy of an 88 and an 89 pressing, because they're both out. The albums one came out in 88, one came out in 89. One of them was Public Enemy's It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back. I also got a copy of Fear of a Black Planet by them.
I need you to do me a favor. If you run across another copy of Fear of a Black Planet.
Yeah, you're not going to. I actually bought it online, so it was, I've run across one copy of it in the past, like in the wild, and it was like $60 or something like that. This one I didn't. I think I paid. I got both of those, and I also got the 12-inch single for "Fight the Power," which was on the Do the Right Thing soundtrack. I got them all for the same price I would have paid for that one. I also picked up a copy of British Steel. Yeah, I picked up that, and I also picked up a copy of Twisted Sister Stay Hungry that same day.
Oh yeah.
When I was at McKay last weekend, I don't know if you saw my post in Discord or not, but I found the Rhino Records release of the soundtrack for Hedwig and the Angry Inch that was released 2 years ago, which I have not been able to find anywhere for a decent price on top of it all. I was like, hey, I love that show. I love the music from it, so I'm like, I'm all in on this one.
Is it in fairly decent condition?
It was unopened. So
unopened?
Yeah. And yeah.
Wow.
I've picked up quite a few things, but one of the things I was listening to earlier today, just because I was at random, I was like, oh yeah, I want to listen to this.
Yeah.
I threw on Jimi Hendrix, Are You Experienced?
Yeah.
That album, and was listening to it. It's like, which people forget that Hendrix only released 3 official studio albums.
Yeah.
Anything else that you find that's not, if it's not Are You Experienced, Electric Ladyland, or Axis Bold as Love. Okay, those are the only 3 official studio albums that he released. Band of Gypsies was a live album.
Yes, it was.
Okay. So you flip on Are You Experienced, and it's got Purple Haze, Hey Joe, Foxy Lady, The Wind Cries Mary, Are You Experienced, Third Stone from the Sun, if 6 Were Not. It's like, wow, this could be a greatest hits album. It's like, yeah, because he had such a small...
Yeah. Well, they had a copy of that at McKay's, and then I pulled it out of the sleeve to look, and rough? It looked like somebody had been...
I know.
Just crapping.
And they were probably still asking $70 for it. So
I think it was $45.
Yeah, and that's what I hate about McKay is because and I love going there. Okay, and when I was there and I bought that album, and I also bought a bunch of Blu-rays because they had I got all 3 of the Christopher Nolan Batman movies for 95 cents a piece.
Wow.
Yeah, there was stuff that they just have so much of it, and I picked up the first 3 Avengers movies.
That's what McKay's is,
and I
really
think they were like $2 a piece or something.
Is the Blu-ray selection
now? Yeah, the selection is good, and because they've got so much stuff now, they do have a tendency to mark stuff down like that. But man, they have a real bad problem with marking stuff up to full retail on used stuff that comes through there for the first few years that it's available.
When did they add instruments and recording equipment?
They've been doing that for a while. It's so expensive.
Oh, I know. I was looking at
it
because I deal with that.
I know.
I was looking at that. I was like, that's overpriced.
I know. I always like to go over and look, see what they've got, see if there's anything interesting in. But I would never buy anything because, again, I was like, I will go and look at it and be like, oh, that's interesting. Let me get on eBay or anywhere else and see how much this is. Like, oh yeah, I can get it for a lot cheaper. Don't get me wrong. I love McKay. I wound up spending $55 while I was in there, and it was one of those things that happens every time. I always say, anytime I leave McKay's, if I get out for under $60, I've done a good, because it never, if there's something about that $60 mark, I just cannot get out without spending $60.
It's either 60 or 75.
Anything 60 or above seems to be, but 60 seems to be the floor of no, you have to spend this much money. So anytime I don't spend that much money, I'm always like, oh yeah, I won today.
Yeah.
I picked up something else while I was out there. It was, I don't remember what it was now, because it was something I just happened to. I was like, ooh, and of course now I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, what I was getting to was listening to all that music and vinyl. We've talked about, vinyl's a vibe more than anything else.
Yeah, it is.
But it's also just listening to that stuff and being like, this is good.
Well, the fact that you have to listen to it in sequence, in the order.
Yeah, there's that too.
The musician set the record up, and
don't get me wrong.
It's such a pain in the butt to have to pick that needle up and get it over in just the right spot. And skip a song, so you just let it play through. So
and I was kind of chuckling about that, thinking about My brain immediately went to CDs rather than MP3s or whatever, the digital copies of it, of being able to skip ahead, of sitting in front of a stereo, that kind of stuff, and thinking about, oh no, for the longest time, skipping ahead meant walking over, lifting the needle up, getting over, and trying to get it on that break.
Yep.
Good luck with that with the Pink Floyd album.
Yes.
And that kind of stuff. But
indeed.
but I went all through I listened to a lot of Marty Robbins this morning. Okay. And I was just like, yeah, this stuff.
Yeah.
Especially his cowboy songs and stuff, his Gunfighter, like Big Iron and Ballad of the Alamo and El Paso and, all that, Laredo, and all that kind of stuff. It's like Streets of Laredo, all that kind of stuff. I'm like, dude, I love this stuff. Now I also love Devil Woman and, a bunch of the other stuff that he did that was non-cowboy, but I'm just like, no, all of his cowboy stuff I absolutely love. Dude was an incredible singer on top of it all, but yeah, it's just, I'm sitting here talking about stuff that was made before I was born, a lot of it.
Yeah.
Before either of us was born, or maybe we were real little and not listening to it yet that we discovered later, that I'm like, I can still go back and drop a needle on that stuff anytime and it still sounds as good as ever.
Mm-hmm.
There's almost nothing that heard in the last 15 years or so that I will go back to over and over and over and over again. There's exceptions. There's a few things, There is, hold on, let me find it here real quick because I need to give you the names. I don't know if you've heard this song or not. And again, this was one of those came through Instagram. Like, what is this?
Okay.
It's a duet. The name of the song is Until I Found You. Okay. And it's Steven Sanchez and M. Byhold. Okay. Steven Sanchez originally recorded this. It was just him.
Okay.
And then M. Byhold, who I've never heard of either one of these, but it's like there was this clip of them on what's the one with James Corbin? Whatever talk late night, deal whatever of them performing this live.
Okay.
And I was like, what is this? Like I had to go and find it, like what is this? And I originally found just his version of it. And I was like, yeah, but what's the other one? And then come to find out that they had recorded this duet of them in which the duet is different than his version of it.
Always is.
In that basically what happened is that they rewrote the second verse for a female singer, where it's, from her perspective, and this live version, I was like, dude, I love this. It kind of goes back into that, where it's kind of that throwback to that early 60s, the real reverby vocals and guitars and stuff, that real it sounds like something that you could maybe have seen in The Outsiders or heard in the background or something,
where they were actually using a plate
reverb exactly
that took up an entire room at a studio.
Really enjoy this song and I've listened to it a lot, but the thing is that it's one of those kind of some other stuff that I really love from the last that I have really loved for a short amount of time and then grown weary of it after a while, which brings me to the point of that's the problem with modern music is it is very disposable. It's something that you love for a short amount of time and then it goes away and you go back and listen to it months or years later or something and it's just not as good as what you remembered it being.
Yeah.
And I guess basically what I'm saying is that's the music equivalent of hookup culture.
Okay.
It's good for the time, it gets you through, and then later on you're like, oh yeah, we had that thing,
Well, not exactly the same, but kind of headed that direction. Have you seen the amount of tours that are getting canceled this summer?
Yeah.
Simply because of the money it's going to cost to do those tours?
With inflation and the economy the way that it is now, going back to what we were talking about earlier,
I think it was...
I can't,
I think it was Machine Head that canceled and flat out said, look, we can't afford to tour. We can't afford the visas. We can't afford to pay everybody's salary.
Right.
And
because it's gotten ridiculous.
And now I'm finding out...
concert tickets have gotten ridiculous. Did you see... Okay, look, we're not that far removed from this 3-night deal that Taylor Swift did. Excuse me. That Trailer Shit did here.
You didn't have to go that far.
Well, that's how I feel. Look, I used to like Taylor Swift, okay? The longer she sticks around, the more I'm like, would you really go away? Would you just go away?
But, here in Nashville, she did a 3-night stand at Bridgestone Arena.
All right, good for her.
That was
the thing is, and of course,
that
was that whole deal with Ticketmaster and blah, 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 whatever. I don't care. Ticketmaster is always going to Ticketmaster, okay? That's just the way that it is. But, with all of that happening.
Yeah.
And the ticket prices, not on the secondary market, the ticket prices that was one of the things people were really complaining about right up front was like, why is this cost so much?
Yeah.
Well, part of it is because production costs are a lot higher than they used to be.
Yeah.
But also it's because you'll pay it.
Well, also, have you seen the amount of people it takes to build those stages and lighting rigs and all of that?
And I get that. And again, inflation happens, okay?
Yeah.
It's one of those things. But at the same time, it's like,
what's the reason I quit going to concerts? It's because I couldn't afford them.
That
could not afford them.
I have gotten in the last few years where I'm like, okay.
And let's be honest, the musicians are not making money off of touring.
No.
They make their money off of selling the merch.
Right. I get that.
And now we're seeing rock musicians telling the public that the venues are trying to take a portion of their merch sales.
I know.
It's like, screw you. You're selling the tickets. You're getting the money from the tickets.
and concessions.
And concessions.
Yeah,
you're not getting
parking,
a part of my
everything else.
merch.
So,
that's how I'm making a living here.
So it is.
So the music.
Well, look, we have railed on the music business plenty of times over the years.
I mean, this is part of the reason why we're not getting new music is because kids are seeing how the music industry treats the people that are making their money. And
it's
they're like,
funny that they're just now seeing it because people have been complaining about it for decades.
It's like, why would I want to be part of an industry that's going to rip me off? I'll take my music and I'll go do something else with it.
There are some independent artists out there who are making waves.
Yeah.
For various reasons. We won't get into all of it.
You talking about Jelly Roll?
Don't get me started on that crap. No, I'm talking about some other artists that we won't get into who have charted on Billboard, that do not have record deals, that have had to fight Billboard and everybody else to be recognized because they're not doing it the way that they're quote unquote supposed to, but they're still getting YouTube video views. They're getting SoundCloud, downloads. They're getting iTunes downloads. They're getting they're getting some Spotify stuff if they can get on there. They're getting all this stuff, and it's funny because like one of the big things that these couple artists that I'm talking about have had the problems with is YouTube, because the record industry several years back started counting YouTube views as like Spotify streams, like kind of the same thing, especially counting towards, charting, that kind of stuff, that have specifically told these independent artists they're not going to count theirs. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that they're outsiders. They're not playing by the rules that have been said. And some of it's also politics, but it's just one of those things where it's like, look, you get enough, the industry cannot ignore you if you make a loud enough noise. Yeah. And then of course the companies start, hey, if we want to give you a record contract. And then they're looking at it going, I am not signing a record contract because... Well,
the thing about it is if you get to the point to where you're making enough noise that the record companies are paying attention to you, you don't need them anymore.
Exactly. And when the internet first happened, or was first really starting to become a thing, not when it first happened, probably in the early 2000s. I remember like looking around going like, this could be the great equalizer for music. Yeah. Instead, what we've seen is suppression. Yeah. And not only suppression, but the internet gave everybody a voice. And as much as I am all about everyone should be able to, the problem should have the right to free speech, not everyone should be given a quote unquote voice. Okay.
The problem is, yes, it gave everybody a voice.
Right.
But the problem is it's the same thing that happened back before you had to have a license to be on the radio. Yeah. Well, and there were so many stations.
What I was going to get to
all of that is that it's created all this static.
There's so much
that you can't find what you need out of it.
It goes back to what I have said on this show many, many times in the last almost 4 years. No. We live in an age, like my kid doesn't know a time whenever he couldn't just pull up something on YouTube or on HBO Max, or when we had Disney Plus or this or that or whatever, where he could just like watch whatever he wanted to. It was always there. Yeah. Okay. What people are starting to realize, not enough of them, but a good chunk of people are starting to realize, is what I've said for close to a decade now.
Okay. What is that?
When you have access to everything all the time, you have access to nothing. Do you understand that?
Yeah, I'm just trying to process it.
If I give you access to the complete catalog of music from the beginning of recording till now, that's at your fingertips.
Well, you lose the ability of discovery.
There is no way to discover. There's so much to wade through that you can't. there's so much to wade through, and there's no curation to point you towards the stuff you might actually like. And so therefore you are just mired in a sea of stuff. And that's it. Every once in a while you'll find something, but mainly you're just treading water trying not to drown. So if you have access to everything, you have access to nothing.
I'm going to have to think about that for a little bit.
And it's the same thing with movies and television and books and everything else, Think about this. When we were kids, what was one of the greatest things you could get? A library card.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, think about walking into that library completely unsupervised.
The first time it was like, whoa.
Yeah, this is great. And then it's like, where do I start?
Yeah.
Where do I go? And the thing is, how many times, I know I did. You go and get a book and you're like, I'm going to take this home. And then you get home, you're like, this is not good.
Well,
and I'm going to have this for a while, and it's like.
The great thing about my library experiences, as a kid, I was never a shy kid.
Yeah.
And so I had no problem walking up to the desk and being like, hi, I'm looking for something to read.
Okay.
Can you help me find something to read?
And again, that goes back to...
But at the same time, there were a lot of helpful librarians. At the same time, there were a lot of librarians that were not helpful because I was such a voracious reader and still am, and because I evidently was a little smarter than I think I am. I read way above my I read way above my level.
I will openly admit I'm way dumber than I think I am. So
And I remember being in 5th grade, and we had to go to the library. We were going to get something to read, and I was always into ghosts and monsters, blah blah blah. And
we'll come back around to that in a second.
I found this book. Called "Death Is a Lonely Business," by Fahrenheit 451. Ray Bradbury. I was like, "Death is a lonely business. That sounds interesting." And went to check it out in the library. It's like, you can't check it out. That's above your reading. I was like, I will have this thing read in a week and bring it back to you and tell you exactly what it's about. She was like, your mother's going to kill me, but fine, here you go. And I took it home and read it, and that's still my favorite Ray Bradbury book.
Yeah. I had a point before we got into that.
Yeah.
It was a good point too. Now I can't remember.
Talking about library.
Yeah. Okay. So, it's the whole I don't have Netflix any longer, but again, having access to, or I've got HBO Max. I get it with my cable service. Or not my cable, my internet service. And it's one of those things that I'm like, okay, cool. And then sometimes I go in there, I'm like, what do I want to watch? I don't know what I want to watch. And then you just kind of start scrolling through stuff.
Doom scrolling.
Yeah, and it's just like, none of this is jumping out at me. Or I've seen that before. I want to see something new. It's hard to find anything. What I was going to get at is that think about how many times and we're probably the last, millennials got this a little bit, but we were the last full generation that could walk into a record store.
Oh, I miss those days.
And there would be the staff's picks.
Yeah.
Okay. And you could go over, a lot of times they would have listening stations, or if nothing else, you could be like, oh, you're so-and-so, you just had their name on it. Like, oh,
tell me about this.
Tell me about this, blah, 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 And so you get that firsthand, and somebody who's really into it, not just like, oh yeah, just throw this up there, or we're being paid to put this up here, which is what all of the services have, whether it's iTunes or Spotify. They push the stuff to the front that's been paid for.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's no one who said, no, I love this thing and I want you to listen to it because I love this so much and I want to share that experience with you. Okay. I say that to get to this. One of the greatest jobs that I have had in my life
CD
was
warehouse.
Working at CD warehouse.
Yeah.
And since we recorded the last time, the location, the last location that was here, the one that I worked at for 3 years, closed.
Yeah.
Now, it had been a shell of its former glory for a long time.
Probably a year or better.
Oh, it's been longer than that. Oh, man. That place had gone downhill for a long time.
Yeah.
They got caught in the CDs aren't selling any longer. We have to make a pivot to something else. And they got into vinyl some.
But they didn't do it right.
They didn't do it right. And they also said, hey, we're going to dip our toes into other media, kind of like some other places. That's kind of how they, it's like, rather than just making all your money off of one thing, we'll make our money off of a bunch of things.
Yeah.
And they didn't commit to it. So it was one of those things that, like, they did video games, but they didn't want to really do video games. And they did books, but they didn't really want to do books. They had like one little section of books or whatever. And they also were not some place that you would go to sell that stuff for most people.
Because they wouldn't give you crap for your stuff.
Well, and most places are like that.
Yeah,
they at one time, a few years ago, because a guy was working there that I knew from outside of all that, but he was trying to get them into doing more, like doing some like toys and stuff like that. And that worked for a little bit, except for the fact that the guy that was the manager there didn't want to do that, and so he pretty much pushed all that out. Well, they're not there any longer. I used to work for another company that did all that same stuff. That when I went to work for them in 2010, when at the end of the interview that I got that I had for the manager's position, which I wound up getting, and I worked there for a year and some change.
Yeah.
One of the questions that my district manager asked me is like, so just kind of related, like, how long do you think this kind of business has left?
Did you look at him and say 5 years?
I said, I don't know. And I said, I think, and I agree, and because we talked about McKay's and places like that, where it's like, these types of businesses can stay open. You just have to adjust both what you're doing and what your expectations are. The days of CDs or whatever being a license to print money the way they were in the late 90s and the very early 2000s are over, and they're not coming back.
Yeah.
There is still a lot of money to be made, but you're not going to be making that kind of money any longer.
Yeah.
Okay. As far as I know, that business that I worked for is completely out of business now.
Yeah, because they didn't know how to.
Even though they had stores all over, not as all over as some others, but they had a pretty good foothold in several places.
Yeah.
As far as I've been able to determine, they're all gone now, and I know that the people who ran that company really didn't want to be in the used media business, even though that's what had made their bread and butter. They were trying to find something else to get into, and apparently it wound up sinking them. I don't know that for 100%, but I have not been able to find any more of those stores online anywhere that are still in business.
Yeah.
So, CD Warehouse goes down. I know CD Warehouse is still open around, but they're no longer here. They're gone now. At one time, when I first started working for them, there were 6 locations in the area.
I know about the one in Madison and the one in Bellevue.
There was the one in Rivergate. The second store that opened, originally there were 4 stores. No, originally there were 2 stores. There was the one in Rivergate, in Madison, and there was the one in Antioch at Hickory Hollow.
Yeah.
They were both near malls, which Rivergate's still kind of hanging on somehow, and Hickory Hollow. I said it's kind of hanging on. It's still open, but it's not what it was. The one, of course, Hickory Hollow has been gone for a long time. Anyways, those 2 stores. Then they opened one downtown close to Vanderbilt. Okay. Then they opened one in. They opened the Bellevue store. That was the next one. Then they opened. Of course, if you don't live around here, you know what I'm talking about. But then they opened.
Bellevue's the extreme
it's
west side
of Nashville. Yeah. Then they opened one in Hermitage. And then they opened, or in Donaldson, actually. It was just over the
which is the
line.
east side.
Yeah. And then they opened one in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Okay. Those were all owned by the same.
I think I vaguely remember that.
They were all owned by the same 2 people. They had franchises, and stuff. Eventually, one of the guys sold out his to the other one, the guy that I actually worked for.
Yeah.
And then they started closing down stores. This was in the early 2000s somewhere, probably about 04, 05, something like that. By the time I went back to work for them in 06, part-time, just as a second job, we were down to, I think, 3 stores were left. Because there was 4. I take that back. There was 4, but Bellevue closed while I was there.
Yeah.
So that meant that there was only
because I called you mad at you.
There was only the Antioch, Madison, and Bowling Green store, or excuse me, Hermitage and Bowling Green. So there was those 4 were still open.
Yeah.
Bowling Green was the next one to fall, then Hermitage, and then Antioch, and then Madison was the one that was open until just a few weeks ago. So it's funny to go and we did an episode a couple of years ago about jobs, and we had that kind of stuff. And I started talking about that about like all of the companies that I've worked for that are no longer in business.
Yeah, you're kind of like the black mark.
There are, and some of them not just companies that I worked for, but like the stores. Like some of them, like the companies, just like CD Warehouse is still open.
Yeah,
but the store that I worked for is no longer there. Okay, now there are a lot of those as well. Literally, there is a long list of companies that I used to work for that no longer exist.
I was actually kind of happy when I heard you going to work for Amazon, because I was hoping that they would.
That was hoping that they would be next.
Because I hate that company.
I doubt that happens because they're doing well. Although I have not done anything with them for a while now. Okay, last thing. We're at an hour and a half almost now.
Oh
yeah. You talked about ghosts, being in that kind of stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
My dad. 2 things. My dad when he watches television, okay, he watches just a handful of things or channels, okay.
Okay.
One of the shows that, or one of the 2 of the channels that are constantly on is either HGTV or DIY. Okay.
I can see that about your dad.
So I did not know this until recently, but one of what's his name, Jonathan Knight from New Kids on the Block has a show on HGTV.
What?
He does real estate. He does like fixer up stuff, and he's got a show.
He's a house flipper.
Yeah. Actually, I've watched a couple episodes of it. It's actually pretty interesting because the thing is you'll see Jordan on there from time to time, his brother that was in the New Kids on the Block, and like different stuff, But it's one of those things that like he's been doing that since the early 90s, whenever like New Kids kind of went away. That's what he got into after it was
okay,
and that's what he's been doing for 25 years now. But yeah, different stuff. Like, of course, I get see all the the gains and all the different couples that blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Dad also has 2 shows that he loves that he just cannot get enough of.
Don't say Ghost Adventures.
No.
Okay.
But they are on the History Channel. One is The Curse of Oak Island.
Oh no.
And the other one is The Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch. And what's funny about it,
those are basically the same show, except one's looking for gold and the other one's looking for an ancient Indian shaman that went insane.
Here's the thing on both of those, okay? I was sitting there, a few weeks ago. I was sitting over there on his side of that, on his side of the house, and he was watching everything, and I think he was watching Oak Island, and I was like, and they were kind of going through some of the stuff, and I started talking about the Curse of Oak Island, the mystery of it and all that kind of stuff, and blah, blah, blah. He's like, I didn't realize you watched the show. I'm like, Dad, I've known about this for probably 40 years. Dad had never heard of Oak Island.
Really?
Until he started watching this show a couple of years ago. And he's like, how'd you know about it? I was like, In Search of. Mm-hmm. I remember buying like all those books from the Scholastic stuff that were like Mysteries of the Unexplained or blah, blah, blah. And Oak Island was always one of them. Unsolved Mysteries. Like I had so many of those books, or would go to the library and check out all that stuff. Oak Island was always one of the things in there.
Yeah.
And then he was like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And then there was a commercial for Skinwalker Ranch, and I was like, oh my God. And he's like, what? And I started talking about that. He's like, you watch that show? I'm like, no, I've known about Skinwalker Ranch for probably 15 years. He's like, how do you know that? And I'm like, Because I've always had this interest, even though I don't really believe in the supernatural so much, I've always had this interest in all that stuff because I find it fascinating.
Yeah.
And so between books and websites and podcasts that deal with all this stuff that I listen to on the regular, that has been a story that's been in my life for at least 15 years.
Yeah.
And I for whatever, because I think originally that all got started in the 90s or something, when it started coming to light, but it's been in the last 15 years or so. And he was just like looking at me like, oh, and I was like, look, I have hobbies, okay? I've had them forever, this is not something new, But I was just like, it's funny that he's discovering this stuff like decades after.
Well, it's because now there's television shows.
Exactly. And again, that's the difference between I found all this stuff diving into the library or diving into podcasts or into websites or this or movie or documentaries on television, this and stuff and blah blah blah. He's found it because a mainstream television station started doing a series about it, and he got interested in it that way. And I'm just like,
well, it's the same thing. When I was a kid, I was interested in ghosts and monsters. Right. You go over the counter and be like, where are the stories about ghosts and monsters and all that? And they take you to the fiction section. You're like, no, I want the nonfiction stuff.
Right.
And they're like, what are you talking about? And
I know.
It freaked one librarian out when this 7th grader looked at her and goes, I want the paranormal research section.
Right.
And she went, oh my God.
I know. And that's, it is what it is.
So yeah, I would have been 7 in 80. So it would have been 1980. 7th grader walks up to you and goes, "I want the paranormal
Not
research."
A 7th grader, a 7-year-old.
7-year-old. I'm sorry. And of course, we're right at the beginning of the satanic panic.
Oh, I
stuff.
know. And there's that too. I know.
He's a demon worshiper.
I know.
Yeah.
But that was old. Time Life Books had them, Mysteries of the Unexplained, and all that kind of stuff. And our library at school, even though I went to a private Christian school, had all those books in the library. They were given to them or whatever. And I remember, like, as a middle schooler, checking out all those things, like, oh, dude, this is cool, and some of them I liked and some of them I didn't like as much, but it was because, it wasn't always just like ghosts and, that kind of stuff. Some of it was just like myths from the Middle Ages, about dragons or fairy folk or whatever it is, type stuff. It's like, no, this is really cool, just like kind of get into all this and blah, blah, blah. And again, it was always just a hobby for me. It was never like, oh, I can turn this into something. I was like, who cares? This is just fun for me. I like this. This is fun, It's kind of the same thing that, like, I still have a copy that I picked up. I picked it up a few years ago. It's not, again, my school library was always, I always found it really weird because I would find stuff in there that I wasn't not expecting. Especially for being a small Christian school. I would every once in a while just really find, like, they had several books about magic. And I'm talking about like sleight of hand, stage magic, that kind of stuff. One of them,
David Copperfield type crap.
One of them was the Amateur Magician's Handbook, which is kind of, I won't say it's the Bible for magician, for stage magicians, but it's like one of those things that a lot of really famous people, magicians, that's where they're like, no, I had a copy of this. This was a thing because this told you all how to do it. And not only told you how to do it, it also gave you suggestions for your, for your act, and all that kind of stuff. And I remember, like, again, somewhere I was in middle school, somewhere. Literally like falling asleep reading that book. And I wound up getting a used copy of it several years ago. Of course, I had not looked at it in 20, 25 years at that point, But it's one of those things where I go back and buy it because it's like, I have a lot of nostalgia, but I'm not into that stuff now. Magicians annoy the crap out of me. But it's...
So you're not going to House of Cards anytime soon?
No. Look.
I've heard it's pretty cool, though.
Here's the thing. I am the worst person in the world to take one of those things.
Because you're going to expose all the secrets.
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily for that. Kind of the same reason that I've said many times that I am a young, enthusiastic Christian's worst nightmare. Because I know their book better than they do.
I'm not going to touch that. Not going to touch it.
And it's kind of the same thing. And I may not know all of the tricks better than, nowhere near as good as the people who would perform at that. But I know enough about it to be like, oh, yeah, I see what you did there. Okay. And not be like, oh, my God, how do you do that? You just kind of be like, and those are the type of people that, kind of like playing music here in Nashville. Everybody in the crowd sitting there going, yeah, whatever. It's like, whatever. I'm up here. You're not. Shut up.
Yeah, I have to admit, when we moved to Nashville, when I was in high school, I thought, oh, this is cool. I'll finally be around my people.
No,
I was not around my people.
Not around your people.
I was around a bunch of judgmental jerks.
Yes, exactly. And that is the best way to put the music community in Nashville.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, pricks, you can do that.
It's that whole.
I can do that better.
It's that whole.
It's like,
how many drummers does it take to screw in a light bulb? One to screw in the light bulb, and 5 others to tell you how Neil Peart could do it better. It's one of those situations. It's like. Yeah. So yeah, but that's again, it's funny because. I don't know, 12, 13, 14, 15 years ago, I did not watch pro wrestling any longer. Like, I had not watched it in years.
Yeah, you quit.
For a lot of reasons. One, because WCW wasn't around anymore. I really didn't care about the WWF, whatever it was at the time, their practice, blah, blah, blah. But I was still really fascinated with the history and all the culture around it and that kind of stuff. Yeah, and so it was one of the things that I found myself, like, reading books about that stuff, or watching YouTube videos about all that stuff, not the matches, not who was in there, blah, blah, blah.
All the ancillary stuff.
Eventually, I came back to wrestling,
because of AEW.
No, I came back to wrestling because of Roddy Piper dying.
Oh.
Actually, Roddy Piper and Dusty Rhodes died within a very short amount of time to each other.
Yeah.
And they were both wrestlers that I loved when I was watching. And Piper had his own...
Piper was my guy.
Piper had his own podcast.
Yeah.
Up until he died, like for the last 2.5, 3 years, going into it. And I loved listening to it. He'd bring other, like, the old time guys on there, and some newer guys too, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Always loved it. Always loved listening to it. And I literally, when I found out he died, I felt like I had lost a family member, because I had been listening to this guy every week for several years,
Yeah.
On top of watching him for all those, movies and everything else, And it was one of those things where it was just like, wow. About 6 months after that happened, and again, that was right on the heels of Dusty Rhodes dying.
Yeah.
And it was one of those, like, Roddy Piper dying hit me in much the same way of when David Bowie died.
Okay.
Where it affected me a lot more than I was expecting.
Okay.
Where it was like, wow, like, I'm not going to see this person in interviews any longer. I'm not going to hear about something that they're doing here or there. I'm not going to see them pop up on something or, whatever. And because they'd always kind of been around doing that stuff for so many years, And so it was kind of one of those that after mulling over Roddy being gone and Dusty both being gone for a little while, I was like, maybe I need to start watching wrestling again. And it started with wanting to get at the time, the WWF or WWE network was a thing, and now it's Paramount owns it, or Universal, or whoever it is. I don't remember what it is. Oh, it's Peacock. I'm sorry. But that was their own thing, and it was like $10 a month or something. It had all this backlog of stuff, like all this old archives. And I was like, I think I'd like to go on and like watch some old Piper and Dusty Rhodes stuff, since they own all that, especially after buying WCW, they had everything that,
Yeah, sure.
And so I'm like, okay. And that's kind of where it started. I started off watching all the old stuff. Of course, they're always promoting what's going on. And I started watching the new stuff. Eventually AEW came around. I was like, oh, no, these are my guys over here.
Yeah.
I really was in the WWE for a couple of years. I even started watching some, I think it had switched to Impact by that point. It wasn't TNA any longer, so when the Hardys were still in there, and some stuff. I'm like, started seeing some people there, and then started seeing them move on into some other stuff. I'm like, okay, this is all right. And next thing I know, I'm all back into wrestling again.
I know. Every time we record, I got to listen.
Start talking about wrestling. I know.
You and Barry running your mouth about it.
It's that.
And I never really watched it. I watched it, from time to time. But if I was just flipping through, if I saw Piper,
right,
I was stopping.
Absolutely.
Because he was just so hilarious.
Right.
The way he would go after everybody.
Yeah, and nothing was sacred.
No, absolutely
nothing was sacred.
If I saw Jake the Snake, I would stop. To
he's got his own podcast.
Yeah,
this Snake Pit's really good.
Yeah. And then Taker came along, and Taker.
I've never been a big Taker fan.
I
know you're a big Taker.
Yeah, I liked the Taker.
It's just that.
But other than that, I couldn't really cared much.
The whole, and again, that wrestling was one of those things that I was really big into when I was a kid.
Yeah.
That's the Hulkamania era, and all that stuff. And, the beginning of WrestleManias, all the first.
Yeah, I remember all of that.
I was into all that stuff.
And the Russian and
Nikolai Volkov and Hogan, and you had
Brutus the Beefcake.
You had Brutus Barpi, you had Honky Tonk Man, you had Macho Man, you had Jake the Snake, you had Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. It's like all these like kind of golden era of
the fact they made a cartoon with all these
exactly,
guys.
And it was one of those things where like that was cool. And then I fell off of it because I got a little older, and it's like blah 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 blah. And it was because I had a friend who still watched wrestling pretty religiously, started telling me about the NWO.
Yeah.
And especially after Hogan turned.
That's where I came back into.
Yeah, and that was like...
I was a WC...
I was like, what do you mean Hogan turned?
NWO.
Yeah, I was like, what do you mean Hogan turned?
Kevin Nash was my guy.
Yeah, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, and it was one of those things like, I got to see what's going on now. And then I was back into it for a couple of years. But I never got back into WWE because they were still, at that time, we're still trying to do all this stupid, the what was the one that Glenn Jacobs, the Yankum, whatever, it was like a dentist, character.
Oh,
you had Doink the Clown, you had all this stuff, and it's like, I don't care about any of that crap. I like this other because it's a little more rooted in real life,
gritty.
Well, it was a little more real life, And then shortly after that was when you started getting into Austin and all those guys and blah blah blah.
Well, I've never been to a WWE/F show.
I've been to a house show a couple of times.
I've been to WCW NWO shows twice.
Yeah. And I was at Starrcade in 96.
And one of those, my idiot friends talked me into being the W.
Oh,
and painted our chest. So they've got the fat
awesome.
guy. They got the fat guy as the W in the middle. So
nice. So it's one of those, but and then I fell off of it. And then WCW was sold to WWE, and I was like, I want nothing to do with that.
Nope.
Absolutely. And so I was out for 15 years probably, easily. If not longer. And I would hear stuff here and there and blah blah blah. Of course, I'd heard all about CM Punk and and I'd gone and watched YouTube clips of the pipe bomb and some stuff like that. I'm like, I kind of like this guy. He's a little old school. I like this, but not enough to actually watch any of it because I don't like anybody else that's over there.
Yeah.
Or very few of them. Most of the guys that I still kind of liked that were in there were guys like Jericho, who I saw in WCW and ECW back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was like, all right, I'm okay with some of those guys, but
I didn't mind following Brood era Jericho and Edge and Christian. And
see, I didn't never liked... I've liked Edge and Christian more now since they've come back to wrestling than I liked them when they were in their initial stuff.
The vampire stage.
Yeah, well, I mean, even like after they left that, I remember when Edge had to retire, it was in 2011 or whatever it was, and it was one of those things where it was like, I remember when that happened.
Yeah.
And it was dude, that sucks, but I really don't like the guy anyway. Partly because I wasn't watching it. I was just hearing other people talk about it. I was like, it's just not my thing, And we were so into wrestling again. We're at like an hour and 45 minutes. And
I blame
into it.
I blame Barry for this.
What
I
was getting into was saying about getting back into wrestling. And it's one of those things. It's one of those cultures, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
That even when I leave it, I still have a little bit of a foothold over there of
You're kind of keeping tabs on.
Yeah, type stuff. And that's kind of music's been that way over the years.
I can see that.
There's been points in my life I'm like, fuck it, I'm done with this. I'm done with this. I don't care anymore. I don't want to listen to music. I don't want to play music. I don't want to hear about music. I don't want to, but I never leave it completely. It's like eventually I come back around to like, what's going on here? There's been
I'm kind of
all kinds of other stuff. Comic books has been that way.
I've kind of left music. I can't remember the last time I was like listening to music.
I know.
Other than the records I've already got.
Exactly. I don't listen to anything new. I always listen to stuff that I already own, or every once in a while somebody will tell me about something that involves somebody that I used to like, and I'm like, all right, and I'll go listen to it, and usually I'm greatly disappointed, and so I just don't go back to it again. So it's
I'm always open to suggestion. I will always go and listen to something that somebody goes, hey, I really dig this. You should check this out. Mm-hmm. Out of respect for them, I will go and
check
listen
it out,
to it.
and then be like,
and about 90% of the time,
I know,
like that's not my deal.
I know, and I think some of it too is that I don't have a musical style that I love. I like a little bit from here and a little bit from here. I like a little bit from here.
I like a little bit of everything.
Now, back in the day, it used to be like metal, and then it was punk for a while.
I still lean towards rock, metal, and punk. Yeah. I still do.
I say that, but then I go listen to it. I'm like, am I really into this?
Oh, I'm definitely into it.
Now it depends. Like I said, I was listening to AC/DC and Hendrix and Judas Priest and some stuff like that earlier.
I spent 2 hours listening to nothing but Misfits the other day.
You can't go wrong with that. Of course, I love the Ramones. I love the Replacements. There's all that stuff, But I really am. Again, I've said it many, many times. You go and you pick up my phone and go to the music thing, and you can start looking through it. You're like, well, how do you have this next to this?
Well, I mean,
and I'm like, because that's what I like.
I've got everything from Louis Armstrong to White Zombie.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what my CD and record
I'm the same way.
Cassette. I still have all my cassettes. Oh, they're freaking in the attic.
Cassettes. I can't believe cassettes have started making a slight comeback. That's just, again, I think that's just nostalgia for nostalgia's sake is all it is.
Well, I blame it on Guardians of the Galaxy.
That's true. And, it's a shame what happened to Peter. But I'm joking.
I'm going into the movie with no expectations. I fully expect everloone to die.
Look,
because that seems like a Peter Gunn or James Gunn,
not Peter Gunn. Yeah. He started doing
but James Gunn seems like a George R.R. Martin where he just murders everybody.
I will post Endgame. Mm-hmm. Okay. I've liked the two Spider-Man movies.
Yes.
They've both been really good. No Way Home especially was better, but I liked Far From Home as well. It was a nice button on the end, like kind of wrapping everything up. Okay? Yeah. I liked this new Guardians movie.
I can't wait to see it. I did not enjoy...
And I kind of liked Shang-Chi a little bit.
I love that movie, actually.
I liked it. I was more than pleasantly surprised with how much I liked that movie.
I liked that movie a lot. And that relationship between him and Awkwafina.
I know. I love, dude.
She is hysterical.
And then you get into the Disney Plus shows. I really liked Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yes.
I liked Loki.
Yes.
Mostly.
I liked it, all of it.
I liked Hawkeye.
Yes. I could use more Hawkeye, actually.
And there were parts of WandaVision I liked.
I liked WandaVision because it kept me going, what is going on?
Yeah. I liked parts of WandaVision.
But I liked the fact that WandaVision introduced us to, what's her name?
I don't care about Agatha Harkness.
No, not Agatha Harkness. I think that's interesting that they're going to try to do
Monica Rambeau?
Yes.
She'd already been introduced.
Yeah, as a little girl.
I know.
But now
and
she's
but here's
full grown.
The thing. That Marvel's trailer looks like absolute dog shit. Like, I'm not going to see it. I am not going to see it.
Well, what I'll do is I will wait until it comes out on Disney Plus.
I won't even watch it then.
And then watch it.
I mean, it's, Disney.
What was the other one that came out? The other movie that was The Eternals.
It was terrible. God, I can never get that time back. Okay, I'm sorry.
Eternals was absolute
that one wasn't good.
Piece of dog crap.
Thor: Love and Thunder wasn't good.
I love Thor: Love and Thunder. I thought that was great. That was that was actually fun.
You know what? Two things I really did love that were Disney Plus that I really loved was the Man Thing special, or not Man Thing, the Werewolf by Night special.
I haven't watched it.
I really enjoyed it. 45 minutes. And that's it. It's self-contained. It's a story. It's a full story in that time. That's I said Man Thing because they actually brought Man Thing into it.
We started watching Moon Knight and did not
show. I hate that show. I hate that show more than anything else. I hate that show even more because I kept going back to it, hoping that it would give me a reason to watch it, and it never did.
I got 4 episodes in. I was like, I'm done.
It's like She-Hulk. That show was bad to begin with and just kept getting worse. I started out enjoying. You know what the best part of that show was?
The ending?
No.
Okay.
The best part of that show was Madison with 2 N's and a Y, but not where you think it is. and Wong. The two of them together. I would watch that show. I would watch the show of them watching other shows and her spoiling stuff for him. I would watch that all day long.
I just like Wong. I think that's an awesome character.
Every time he shows up in something, I'm like, okay, this is going to be good. Okay, but again, Shang-Chi, loved him in that.
Yeah, I started out enjoying She-Hulk, but by the time we got to the point where we get in there where she's talking to the computer and the computer's writing all
that show,
it
looked terrible.
This thing went completely off the rails.
It looked terrible. It was written terribly. It talked down to the fans, to the audience.
One of the best lines
it just
is where was when Bruce was there. And the interaction between her and Bruce, I enjoyed that. But my favorite part is where they were talking about the Hulk movie with Abomination, where it wasn't what's his name? It was
it wasn't Mark Ruffalo.
It wasn't Mark Ruffalo.
It was Ed Norton Jr.
Yeah, and
Edward Norton Jr.
And the Hulk goes, "Yeah, I was a completely different guy."
I know, but
I was like, "That's a nice touch."
And not to get into the MCU crap that so many people get bogged down with, but that was something that really irritated me. Was how whenever he's trying to, look, let me tell you how it is to be Hulk, because I've been Hulk for a long time.
Yeah.
She's Hulk for 5 minutes, and she even says, well, let's just face it, I'm a better Hulk than you are. And it's like, fuck you for doing that. No, I don't care. I don't care that it's a female. If they do bring anybody in who says I'm a better Hulk than you after I've been Hulk for 5 minutes, no, you're not. Okay? I mean, it just... Yeah. I love She-Hulk as a character. I love that character.
In the comic books, it was hysterical. God, I
loved. I'm talking like my first real introduction to her was when she was on the Fantastic Four, like with Secret Wars stuff. Like because the Thing stayed back on Battle World, and then she took over his spot in the Fantastic Four. So I was like, no, I love this character. Yeah. And over the years, as they gave her, more stuff that, here and there, and she became an Avenger and this and that. I'm like, no, I love this. I love this character. And then they go and do that with her.
Yeah. And we're talking about the first character to do the fourth wall break stuff.
Yeah, and there was that.
Everybody thinks Deadpool did that.
It was she.
Don't get me wrong. I love Deadpool. I've been with Deadpool for a very long time.
Right.
She's the one that they stole the fourth wall break
and that was
from.
I get that. But I know that is there for me. There is no defending that show.
No, not really.
And like I said, the thing that I loved about that show was a character that belongs to another movie, another series.
And a throwaway character.
And a throwaway character who's completely stole the show. And I'm just like, that tells you everything you need to know about it.
Yeah.
Moon Knight,
garbage. Absolute garbage.
I kept stopping. Like, I'm not watching it anymore. And then I'm not. I don't care that it's only 6 episodes or whatever. And then I would come back 2 weeks later. I'm like, all right, fine. And then it would piss me off all over again. I'm like, no, I'm not watching it. And then I would come back and go, no, they're going to tie this into something, and I want to see how they do it. And they never did.
The fact that the comic did as poorly as it did, and it never really figured out who Moon Knight was or what it should have done. They should have.
I've never liked that character to begin with.
The TV show was going to do nothing.
Now, I did love the Guardians Holiday Special.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it's good that you saw that because it really does.
It ties in.
You get into
yeah.
Dude, there's this one.
Mantis
this one
and
sight gag.
Drax are hysterical. Dude.
There is this one sight gag that I can't wait for you to see it because it's hilarious. It is such a tie-in back to that.
Okay,
that was
one of my favorite parts of the holiday special was the old 97s doing their Christmas. That is now part of my Christmas repertoire.
I love the fact of them sitting there and we have these Earth instruments and we've been working a while and they're playing it. He's like, you just learned how to play these? Like, what? No, that's not how that story. No, that's not what that said.
That is completely wrong.
No. So, yeah, anyway, I know we're at 2 hours now, and we've really gone all over the place. Didn't mean to. We just kind of...
I need them to release that on Blu-ray so I can own it.
I'm hoping...
It's either that or I'm going to burn it off of
I'm hoping that
Disney
winds
Plus.
up on the Blu-ray for Guardians 3. I think that's probably where it will wind up.
It's either that or I'm going to bootleg it off of Disney Plus.
I got a copy of it if you want it.
I am to the point where I am going to have to buy a used Dell server off of eBay or something because my Plex server on my home computer is I have been
saying for the longest time that I want to put together a Plex server. But then after losing 2 hard drives in a short amount of time,
that's the thing about
just pushed me off.
That's the thing about running a server. If you run that something,
and I'm really
kind of RAID,
really hoping
and do your backups
that I can find some way of getting both of those because
you're going to have to send it to one of those places. It's going to be expensive.
I know, but especially the first one that died on me, which was like my newest one.
You better hope that the disc didn't crack.
That had everything on it. Like everything on it. I'm not worried about like all the media that I lost in there. I'm worried about like pictures.
Yeah.
And all kinds of other stuff that was on there that like, the personal stuff that I'm like, I don't have this anywhere else.
I've found
all the back episodes of this.
Yeah, on it.
They were on there.
Yeah.
Including the episode that our original episode that I found later. And I went back because I still have some other like older hard drives from a couple of computers ago, when we first started. None of that's on there. And now I could cobble together some pictures, like some old stuff that's on there, my own personal stuff here and there and that kind of stuff. But there is some stuff that's on that hard drive that's not on anything else.
There's actually a service that I've been looking at that I've been thinking about getting. Let me see if I can find the name of it again. It's like an online cloud backup.
And I will say this. Both of the hard drives that have crashed on me recently, same company, same maker.
What maker?
Seagate.
I've never had a lot of luck with Seagate.
Well,
I've had better luck with Western Digital.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's put it this way: I'm not going to buy another one.
But Seagate,
this is 2 that I've had just all of a sudden, and and neither one of them were exposed to extreme temperatures or gotten wet or any of that kind. They just one day stopped working, and that's it. So.
Backblaze. It's a cloud backup storage that it just automatically backs up your stuff.
Doing cloud. Because I understand that the age that we live in, there really is no privacy whatsoever. Yeah. Anything, if it's on your computer, if it's on an old part, it's something. It's been looked at by somebody. Okay? Yeah. But cloud storage is just letting it out there and daring somebody to go to get it. I mean, how many times have we seen cloud services get hacked? Yeah. Now, granted, I'm not anybody, so they're probably not going to go after me as opposed to somebody else, but it's still there. Yeah.
But it's unlimited cloud backup for $70 a year. Mm-hmm. So that's
not bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was
If you pay for it 2 years in advance, it's like $130, which is, not bad.
Yeah.
So that way, if you've got a computer or something, it just craps the bed. You can just download.
Well, I've already had all that, so I need to figure out what's going on. Yeah. Anyway,
you're gonna have to send it to one of those forensics.
I'm afraid so, and I know it's going to be really expensive, and I'm really weighing whether or not it's worth it. It's.
No, I get it.
Luckily, not everything was on there. There's still some stuff that is on my computer that is not that big a deal, and I have enough pictures. I'm not real sentimental as it is, and the pictures I really love, I have
hard copies.
I have them either on my phone or in, somewhere here or there, blah, blah, blah.
I was digging around and found a handful of 35 millimeter film.
Oh, really?
That I need to go and
have it processed. Yeah.
I got to find a place to have it processed.
I think you can still get that done at Walgreens, if I'm not mistaken. I think they send it off to do it, but I think you can get it done there.
If I'm going to do that, I'm going to find an actual camera shop to do it, because I don't want Walgreens to screw it up.
We're really in the weeds now. We're over 2 hours, and I know we're kind of just. Nothing. I'm not trying to. I've been as guilty as anybody of just taking off.
See, if you hadn't talked wrestling, we could have been
more or we're getting into Marvel stuff. We could. I'll probably go back and edit this and cut out a bunch of stuff. Just as
you won't. No, you won't. You never do.
That's not true. You'd be surprised what doesn't make it into the final copy. Because every one of these episodes, I go back and I don't just go and throw the intro and the outro on them and then I post them. I go back and listen to them because I do a lot of editing of taking out coughs and ums and noises and crap like that.
Keep talking about it. I know I do it. I'm trying to get better.
Look, some of it's me. I am really bad about or taking long breaks whenever I'm trying to find the words that I'm looking for, and so I have to go in there and edit that kind of stuff down. And I try to be. We've been doing this for almost 4 years now. And of course, I did it for 5 years prior to that.
We've been doing this.
It'll be 4 years in August. And so
I didn't realize it'd been that long since I'd blown my knee out.
I've been a lot more conscious of those little vocal tics and stuff.
Yeah, I've been trying.
But I still...
Let me tell you.
They still happen.
The break and doing it every 2 weeks has my muscle memory is not as good as it used to be.
Yeah. I will watch YouTube videos or listen to podcasts, and that stuff drives me insane.
Oh, I know.
Insane. I'm just like, please let me edit this. Please let me edit this. And so when I get to go back and edit this stuff, I get to go take out all the stuff that irritates me. Sometimes I add stuff that irritates other people, but...
What do you mean sometimes? What do you mean sometimes there? His name is Robert Paulson.
That's
Thank you very much. I don't appreciate
Bob
that.
had bitch tits.
Jerk. Anyway, on that note, I'm going to save the rest of you. Thanks for listening in to our rambling whatever session.
Make sure and go and like us on whatever your Podbean or your podcatcher of choice. Give us a review. Make sure and subscribe. That stuff all helps us.
Thank you.
Please. We need to. We're trying to make a conscious effort to actually do a little more self-promotion because we're really bad about it.
Hey. You could help us by helping promote us. Tell
a friend.
Tell a friend. Tell an enemy.
Yeah.
If you don't
post about us on social media.
Oh, that would help.
Yeah. That's especially since I've kind of been off of it for the most part. I mean, there's something I still do the Instagram page. We have a fairly good following over there, but our numbers show that not a whole lot of them actually download the episode. So.
Yeah. Hey, I'll get down on my knees and beg you.
Don't say that. Don't say that. Clip that, and man, it's just going to be bad. So it's
to beg you to help us. I shouldn't have said that. Alan is going to screw me. I can already. If I
ever decide to go back and do a clip episode, I have to remember to come back 205.
No. No, if you do, that's the end of the podcast.
Now, like I said, we've got some new stuff coming in the podcast soon.
I hope.
You can hear more about it in another episode that we haven't recorded yet.
Which means we've already recorded it.
Yeah, we did a loud order. But yeah, we've got some new stuff in the pipelines that hopefully will be out soon. I know I have... in the past, I have said stuff about, hey, we got something new we're working on, and life has just happened as opposed to, oh yeah, I said we were going to do that thing and then forgot about it or lost interest. It's just life is. I had a lot more time and energy when I was younger. And now it's like I actually enjoy sleep, unlike when I was in my 20s and 30s where I was constantly trying to sleep as little as possible so I wouldn't miss anything.
Honestly, I wish I could get some sleep.
Yeah.
Between work and all the other stuff I got going on.
I just got kind of one of those things to say. I'm middle-aged. I'm tired.
Hi, welcome to the middle age.
Yeah,
I
know. It finally caught up to me. It took longer than most everybody else, but it did catch up to me eventually.
All right. Anyway, you've been listening to the Project GenX Podcast rambling episode. I am one host, Big Dave.
And I am Alan Smith, and you can hear Biscuit in the background because he thinks he's going to starve to death because it's after 4:30 and he hasn't been fed yet. So...
So, guys, we will talk to you shortly when we've got another episode coming out. We're going to record some other stuff, some new stuff.
Barry will be back. This was not
This was not planned.
No, this was kind of a last minute. Hey, you want to? Yeah, okay, come on, let's do this. Yeah. And again, he had stuff going on with his nephew's graduation and everything. So it's just kind of one of those like, hey, we'll go ahead and do this real quick. We'll get a little bit of room.
Get some breathing room.
And then we can come back and do some more stuff.
And we will try to ramp back up to a weekly.
Like I said earlier, we're going to try to get back into weekly as the summer rolls around and some time frees up for
all of us.
Hopefully. So yeah, guys, thank you so much. I'm Alan Smith.
I'm the other guy, Big Dave.
We will see you next time.
See you.